So see, I'm just going in and getting that excess off that squished out. So this must have wanted to sit on something at one time. To paint up little swans, I'm just going to be using DIY's white swan. Something so satisfying about taking tape off. So bowls are the perfect thing to test this product out on. So yes, in today's video, we are going to be taking some of the secondhand finds that I found out and about, and I'm going to share with you my inspiration of what I'm going to do to these items to get them to be beautiful home decor again. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne, and you've landed on Ginger Chick Rehab, where I love to inspire others, not only with the makeovers that I do, but I also like to share my thrift hauls and my adventures of thrifting, looking for secondhand treasures, not only to decorate my own home with, but to resell. I have a couple retail booths in a local antique mall, and I also sell on eBay. So here's something that you probably see at thrift stores, garage sales, just some old wooded wall sconces. So we are going to be painting these over and actually putting a IOD mold on them to give them a little bit more something. My go-to mold is this toadstool. So I'm going to be putting one of these molds on those sconces. So I'm going to be using the quick, amazing cast resin that sets up extremely, I mean, not so fast that you can't use it, but it hardens in like 10 minutes. So when mixing up, we're going to do equal parts, the A and the B. This resin, it'll turn cloudy when you start to mix it, and then when it's ready, it will turn clear. Look at, when they say it's amazing, they are totally right. So I don't want to do overly too big of ones. I use a popsicle stick so you don't overfill them. Really no time at all. It starts to turn white. It's starting to harden. If you feel the back side of it, you'll feel some heat happening. So once they are all white, I can remove them and let them cool down completely. They feel all cooled off now, so I'm just going to go ahead and punch them out. Now I've got to decide which ones will look good. To glue them on, I like to use Bondo because it's like minutes it's going to go ahead and set up. You most definitely use any other type of glue that you like, but this is just what works for me. And I like that I can, like, if it smooshes out of the sides or anything, I can like pick it off more than you can glue. So I've had good luck doing molds with Bondo as the adhesive. And then a little bit of the hardener. I'm going to start off with my big piece first. Oh, I'm going to throw it into that. Not what I wanted to do at all. Get off there. Anyway, let's try this again. Like if you were a buttery toast kind of person, peanut butter person, you go all the way out to the edge. Not everybody does, but that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Then I'm going to go ahead and put it back on, just eyeballing center, give it some pressure. And you can just take a wet wipe, hold on to it because it's still wet, and clean off some of those edges. If you feel like you need to get any of that excess off, like I said, it's still rubbery. That's why I like the Bondo, is I can go back in and I can scrape that excess off. So see, I'm just going in and getting that excess off that squished out, which you can't do with glue very well. I want to even out my porosity that my paint will stick to these. These are paintable by all means, but I want to make sure my paint is going to stick. So I'm going to go ahead and use a couple coats of shellac over the entire piece. So to not make a mess with paint on the back, I put tape on the back. And now I'm just taking an X-Acto knife and cutting off that excess tape. So for the color, I'm going with a mid-century modern vibe of Queen Bee by DIY. Ho, 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 ho. Oh, that's going to be fun. That's why I taped the back so I can. It's got this detail on there that I need to get. And then I'm just, for right now, the mushrooms are just getting painted the same base color. So then I'm going to take the heat gun and dry this, not concentrating too much over the resin. It should be fine since I bondoed it on, but I'm just trying to dry the paint. So to apply the second coat, I'm just going to mist it with some water. That just prevents it from like sticking. You get that nice smooth glide. And the yellow I consider a light color, so it's going to take probably more than 2 coats. I need to seal my paint in, so I'm just going to be using some matte finish. Now I'm going to take some aging wax. I could individually paint the mushrooms. I don't think that's going to really, like, with the bright color, make it stand out even more. I think it'll be fine once we wax it, because it'll get into all those amazing little details. Sometimes you can't overdo a project. And it's a wipe on and then wipe off the excess. Oh yes, and even mirrors. Where do I show you? What area of my shop do I show you that? So yes, just painting this oval frame will get it to be loved again. Actually, just cleaning it up will even help even better. So yes, I'm going to paint this oval frame with a new paint color. I do need to clean off this mirror before taping it. I'm not even sure if I'd get a good bond. So we're going to go ahead and get it wiped down. Dawn dish soap, hot water, great prep for your pieces. Like, so this must have wanted to sit on something at one time, but it's all broken. It's not going to sit anymore. So I'm going to see if I can get that taken off. Because to put it, hanging up on the wall, these would be kind of in the way. So yeah, I just always feel better if I tape off my mirror, and it's easy to tape off the whole thing, for me anyway. I really don't want to sand this piece, but it is super shiny. We've already cleaned it off, so I'm going to go ahead and do a couple coats of shellac to act as a primer to bond my paint to this piece. So for my mirror, I'm going to do artichoke. I want a little bit deeper green. I usually go for the old olive, but I thought I would change it up a little bit and see how this one sells. So this is Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. And it is a powder form, as you see, and you mix it up with equal parts water. So I'm hoping for an old-timey, like crackling, crazing, maybe some chippiness, to make it be that old-timey mirror that it is. So you just mix the two together, a couple minutes, make sure you're smushing all of it, making sure you're scraping it off the bottom. It's going to aerate, it's going to be bubbly. And then after you mix it up for 2 minutes, sit it off to the side and let it thicken up just a little bit. So after a couple coats of shellac, I'm just going to put my first coat on, which is kind of going to look translucent, but the shellac is going to help it grab onto this type of surface. Lazy Susan is always nice if you're ever out and about and you don't have one yet to help turn your projects as you're working on them. After the first coat is dry, you can tell that we're already getting some crazing, which is what we were looking for because we wanted it to have some age. But now we're going to move on to our second coat, which is really hard because you're like, oh, but if it crazed the first time, it should craze the second time. So we did get crackling, crazing, no chip, a little bit of chippiness here and there, but beautiful. So now to really pop that crazing, I'm going to use Aging Wax by Fusion. It's my go-to because it just gives an amazing patina. So we're just going to brush it right on. And then it's kind of a wax on, wax off, wipe off the excess wax. My hot sellers right now is checkerboards, taking an old cutting board and turning it into a primitive folk art checkerboard. When I find this size, I cannot keep this size in my booth right now, so I actually need to make some over. Checkerboard, I'm not going to do any type of cleaning other than wiping it off, make sure there's nothing. You want this to look old. You'll see cut marks in here, you'll see grooves. But that's the character I want to be able to see. Now for this one, I'm going to start off with it being black. So DIY's little black dress. So little black dress, which is heavily pigmented. And if you feel like your brush is grabbing with this clay-based paint, even on my first coat, I feel like I needed to, because it's raw wood and it's just soaking in. So I'll just add a little bit of water, which is not going to hurt a thing. So now, before moving on to do anything else with the chalkboard, I'm going to go ahead and seal it in. I'm going to use some polyacrylic matte clear coat to seal this paint in. So now I want to paint this detail, and I know I could have left it out, but some of my stencil color I want it to match. So I decided to paint it black underneath. For this, we're going to be doing DIY's Queen Bee on these little edges here. And it will be getting 2 coats so that it's completely covered. There's something so satisfying about taking tape off. So here we are. This is what we're putting on. A checkerboard, a horse stencil. Okay, after a little bit of measuring, I'm going to tape my stencil down. I'm going to use that same yellow for the chalkboard and for the horse. Makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree store. Hold the stencil down while I'm doing it. Dry technique where you just have a little bit of paint on. 2 coats on the chalkboard. Now it's time to do the horsey. Don't put it on too long, they melt the stencil. That's for sure. Now I always like to frame my board in, so that is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put some tape down to make a line. Now where my tape overlapped, it crisscrossed. Take an X-Acto knife and then I'm going to cut that piece off. If it marks into the board, do not worry. Another piece of tape. So far out. And then that's where we're going to paint. Just eyeballing. Dip my makeup sponge in. Trying to think of colors that will pop on black. Now I have this little detail that I am going to do along the side. For this color, I'm going to do a green aviary. I tried to center as best as I could, measure. It'll be that perfectly imperfect if it's not just so. Part of creating is just using your imagination. So I felt like I wanted some more color. I wanted another square. And if you feel it, just do it. Before sanding this and finishing this up, I'm going to seal the paint in, the yellow paint in, the other DIY paint in with some polyacrylic. I like polyacrylic on black because sometimes the Krylon one leaves like a white film and polyacrylic does not. So now we're going to be finishing up this checkerboard. I'm going to just take a 220 sandpaper to it, give it some age now. Okay, so we're not done quite yet. The final is the aging wax. So I'm just going to give it that right amount of patina. So when you sand it, it takes some of that polyacrylic or your top coat off. So when you go to put your aging wax on, it's not going to necessarily take like this even finish, which is amazing. So it's going to look like, you know, debris has been on it, dirt, soot, what, you know, whatever. If it took some more of it off, then, you know, that's really what it does do in time. So. Oh, and these little swans, they're okay, but they kind of just, with the color and then the very neutral beaks, they just kind of fall back into the background. So I'm going to be giving them a paint job, making them look a little bit older, brightening them up so people will notice them again. To paint up little swans, I'm just going to be using DIY's White Swan. There you go. It seems appropriate, doesn't it? Just brighten these fellers back up. Not that cream is bad, but you didn't really notice them. They just kind of blend. So you wondered, like, how am I going to set it down to dry? Well, I'm going to use the heat gun. That's one of the reasons I like DIY paint, is that, especially with white, when you have multiple coats, I can dry it with a heat gun and then put another coat on. Okay, I'm going to be finishing up my little, so I'm going to paint their beak black using some of Fusion's Coal Black. And then I'll just touch the little eye. Paint all sealed in. So we're going to use some clear coat. Okay, to finish these up, I am going to give them a little bit of a waxing. So I'm just going to brush on some of the aging wax. And then, see, I just want it to go into those beautiful details of this that stick into all those little crevices. Oh, I love that look. See, they may be little pieces, but just something about bringing out that detail. I'm going to finish the swans up by putting them in this cute little basket. A basket with feet. I love it. So I'm going to start off with some floral foam. Some of this, it's just like wood shavings almost. Wood curls. And then I'm going to set them in here. I'm going to figure out how to set them in here. And then I'm going to take some of the wheat. They're going to look like they're nesting. So we'll just kind of offset it, set it, because, or we won't see their cute faces. We're still into fall here. And then once I have that set, I am going to add a few of these little flowers just for some different. Just like a little third element in there. I recently picked up these bowls at an auction. $5 for the stack. They're stained. They're not signed. They're not terribly old. They're dirty. So we are going to get this little stack, perfect, nice little size for decor, paint it up and give them a new look. Don't want to immerse bowls into water, so I'm just going to wipe them off. Just with some Dawn dish soap, some hot water. I don't want that water to like soak in there. I'm painting a color if I feel like one of these bowls would be perfect, like the queen bee. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I did not shellac. I did not do anything special other than clean these bowls. So hopefully the paint will just absorb in. And it's supposed to look like an old bowl, so it doesn't have to be this even paint job. That's why I did not shellac it. Whatever color I'm using today, the bowls are going to be painted because I already have it out. So this one's going to be black. I picked the one that was really stained with the green whatever, because I don't know what it was stained with, to paint this one up. So we have another little bowl, and I'm going to do blue this time. I'm going to do DIY's Bohemian, because I need something dark to cover up whatever that green is that was on here. Last bowl color is going to be Carnival Red by DIY. So I said, whatever paint color I have out, which is artichoke, we're going to paint these bowls. Doesn't matter what brand. It's raw wood, it'll soak in. Before finishing up my bowls, I need to seal the clay base paint in, so I'm just going to be using some clear coat matte finish here. Really like DIY's Decrepit Dust, so I saw that they had a dark and decrepit liquid patina, so I'm like, okay, let's give it a try. And I thought these bowls would be the perfect objects to try it out on. Now it says it has a top coat. I didn't really read the directions. I'm kind of just applying it like a wax. I'm just using my waxing brush, getting it all on there, and then I'll wipe off the excess, and it seemed to work out just fine. So kind of like aging wax for me. It's doing the same thing, but with just a little bit different hue of a top coat. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and what did you think? What was the favorite item that I made over today, and have I inspired you to look at secondhand finds in a new way? Please leave a comment down below. Remember to like and share this so it gets out if you enjoy this kind of content. And as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you're new and you're checking out the channel for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know we uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye. This is how I'm taking the video of the bowls, with the cat on my shoulder. No matter what I do, he's like, yeah, come on, yeah. You don't want to just take... Oh, Tater. Oh, welcome to Tater's life. To Tater's life that he has no idea that he just can't. That's not a sleeping spot. Yep. Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna try to film the the bowls again.